Welcome back. We got UFC 327 happening this weekend in Miami. You know what to say about Miami? Don't ever get away from Miami. Weirdly enough, Justin Gaethje right now is an interim champ, all because of a woman from Miami. But anyways, we got Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg for the main event. This one's a banger, a good one. Both fighters, high finish rates. You know, Jiri is a kill to be killed samurai, a hurt, versus Carlos Ulberg, a high finish fighter from CKB. So really good matchup, and this is for a vacant title fight, meaning we're getting a guaranteed finish for a title fight. You know, usually these title fights end in decision, and so it's really nice to have this matchup right here lined up for us, for the UFC fans, after shitty cards. But anyways, this one's the whole card really good. I really like it. We lost the co-main. We lost Joshua Van versus Taira. That one got moved to 328. But this whole card still holds up pretty well. Still holds up on its own really nicely. We haven't had a card this really good since like the first card of the year with Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. If not, this card is even better than that card. So, like I said, this card is really good, and it's got like a couple good fighters with like high finish rates sprinkled here and there as well. So this card, you know, you should look forward to it for sure from like bottom to top. So can't wait for it. But anyways, we got timestamps below. If you want to skip through the fights, I would appreciate you watch the whole fight. I mean the whole video. But anyways, we got 2 new fights added last night on this card. So yeah, but let's start with the first fight of the night. We got at welterweight. We got Charles Radtke versus Francisco Prado. Charles Radtke, this is an easy layup win for him. Prado is like the opposite of undefeated in the UFC. This guy's like 0-4 in the UFC. Charles Radtke, I don't know what it is in the UFC. They like really like him because they give him like really good matchups in terms of like high value names. They give him Morales, they gave him Mallet, and these other guys, and he gets obliterated. And then they gave him like easy layup wins for him to get a win back against, and in this case it's gonna be Prado. So the UFC really like him, you know. So, but yeah, this should be an easy win for Radtke. Oh, not an easy win because Radtke isn't really that great himself, you know. He's like slightly above trash can level, where Prado isn't like in the trash can level. But Radtke, he should win this fight. You know, the UFC lay up him with these wins for sure. I don't know why they do that, but they do. And so yeah, he should win this fight. It's in the schedule. And after he wins against Prado, he's probably gonna get obliterated by that one German model, Dulatab, or whoever next is up next to make it to the ranking soon. So yeah, but yeah, this should win for Radtke for sure. Next up, we got middleweight. We got Kevin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque. At first, I thought this was at welterweight when I first saw it like weeks ago. And I was thinking, wow, why is Kevin Gastelum moving back down again? That makes no sense. But it's actually Luque, the one moving up to middleweight. So interesting move for Luque. Interesting move for sure. I don't know if it's gonna help him a lot, him moving to middleweight, but there you go, Kevin Gastelum. At middleweight, this is his realm. This is like his domain expansion against Vicente Luque at middleweight, you know. So it's gonna be kind of hard for Luque to get a win over Kevin Gastelum because Luque on the feet, he is a pretty good striker. It's just Kevin Gastelum is really tricky on the feet at middleweight. You know, he is, you know, kind of like stocky. Short, stocky, and then has that southpaw boxing, which is pretty tricky for his opponents to like enter range because he weaponized that southpaw pretty nicely for Kevin Gastelum. And on the feet, Luque doesn't really wrestle much. He doesn't really wrestle. He has a couple submissions here and there, but it's all because of the striking. He wobbles his opponents. They fall down or whatever, and then he quickly jumps into a guillotine choke or submission, and it gets the submission. He's not ragdolling these guys, and then he's not gonna wobble Kevin Gastelum. You know, Kevin Gastelum, he was able to get back up by Joe Pyfer, but Luque does not have Joe Pyfer power, and he's not able to KO Kevin Gastelum. Luque has a high finish rate, but against Kevin Gastelum, I think this is gonna go to decision for sure. Kevin Gastelum also has like a bit of a pillow punch syndrome, I guess, and so I don't see him chinning Luque, even though Luque has been getting kind of hurt, been going to wars back and forth recently in his last couple fights, and like getting like finished. Kevin Gastelum, I feel like his chin, the fact that he's able to like not get finished has helped him a lot to not like wither away that badly, since, you know, obviously he's been in the UFC for a long time. The Luque, his chin hasn't been helping him that much. He has been getting finished, and that has been like making him look way more withered than, you know, his actual age. He's 33. You know, he should be right now in his prime, but obviously in fight age, he's just like, I don't know, like around like 38 around there. But I'm going with Kevin Gastelum at middleweight. He's gonna have like a pretty good time picking apart Luque at range. We've seen Kevin Gastelum, what's it called, weight bully opponents before. He maybe Billy. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I won't Kevin Gastelum the decision. Yeah. Next up at lightweight, we got Chris Padilla versus Maderos. Those are pretty good matchup. If you've been following both of these guys, they're both like undefeated in the UFC. I don't think they're both undefeated at all. I don't think so, but they're both undefeated in the UFC. They're doing pretty good. But I'm gonna lean towards Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla, they're both really good fighters. I want to say elite, but they're still pretty good. The thing is, Maderos comes from a pretty good gym. It's just he is a bit of a he does kind of want to keep the fights clean and technical. While Chris Padilla is a really good brawler, and I feel like that type of brawling style is gonna really hinder Madero's style of wanting to keep the fight as like a technical chess match. And I feel like Padilla is gonna really find the openings and really open up Maderos. Even though Maderos, you can say technical strikers are really defensive. They have really good defense. I feel like Padilla's probably gonna make it pretty ugly in there and make it really hard for Maderos to be comfortable in there and fighting. So I feel like Padilla's gonna make his way through this fight for sure. Be the more comfortable fighter in there, and have the fight go his way. So I'm going with Chris Padilla winning by decision. I don't see him finishing Maderos. If not, he can. Maybe he can, but I'm gonna go with Padilla decision. Next up, we got our women's strawweight bout. We got Tatiana Suarez versus Luque Godinez. This is an interesting matchup, pretty decent, I would say. Both of these fighters, whoever wins by spectacular fashion, if they both win by submission or KO, they're probably gonna jump over Virna Jandiroba to fight next for the belt. Whenever that fight is gonna happen, Mackenzie Dern should be fighting right now Weili Zhang, but that fight hasn't been announced yet at all to begin with. So I don't know what's going on, but maybe Mackenzie Dern just straight up fights Virna for the trilogy or the winner of this fight next. And I don't know where Weili Zhang is gonna be doing it. She's probably gonna be inactive. But anyways, Luque Godinez is pretty good. It's just Tatiana Suarez is a really strong grappler, and I have like a theory. I feel like if you for like a WMMA to like be really good at WMMA, she has to have like a really strong like background in terms of like the wrestling or like power. I want to say boxing person exactly, but I feel like just having like a physical advantage over your opponent is like really big in WMMA. I feel like the skill ceiling in WMMA is kind of low, so a lot of these fighters in general are like they like plateau like at a certain level, and that's why you're getting like a lot of like these fights are like just straight up like 50-50, where it doesn't make sense why they win. But Tatiana Suarez just having that straight up wrestling background should get past Luque Godinez. Luque Godinez, she recently only has lost to like Dern and Virna, but Suarez only has lost to Weili Zhang, who technically never lost a belt. So I feel like Suarez is gonna probably win this fight. You just straight up out grappling Godinez. That's gonna help her a lot. Her wrestling. If Godinez can can defend the takedowns and keep it on the feet, she for sure can win. But I'm gonna go with Suarez out grappling Godinez for 3 round straight and maybe get a submission. But I don't know. Anyways, we got welterweight bout. We got Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. This is actually kind of an even matchup. In terms of like, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But anyways, Kevin Holland on paper should win this fight for sure. He is the better striker, the better grappler. He has like the double threat finish potential. He can kill his opponent or submit them. The thing about Kevin Holland, I don't know what it is. I think it has to be his physicality. Even though he was at middleweight at a certain point, he is like too small for welterweight. He can basically almost like I wouldn't even be surprised if he could fight at lightweight. Kind of like Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner is also 6'3" and he's fighting at lightweight. And actually, I wouldn't even be surprised if Jalen Turner is even more like thicker than Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, I don't know what it is. If he just hasn't been keeping up with his like weightlifting or just straight up like trying to like increase his mass or anything like that. But this dude just straight up is kind of thin for welterweight. Like he has a frame. He has 6'3", he's big, but his frame, his like mass is not big. He's like it doesn't like it's not enough at middle welterweight. And I feel like that's the reason he was getting bullied by Daniel Rodriguez. The Mike Malott loss was kind of, you can kind of tell he kind of was getting weight bullied by Mike Malott. It's just Kevin Holland had that mass. I feel like he would be winning these fights for sure. But the thing is also he hasn't just been pulling through a lot of these fights. Like in general, like he's way more better than a lot of these fighters he's been losing to, and he's just not been like trying. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of hard to rely on Kevin Holland winning a fight when he should be winning. He should win against Randy Brown. He should be picking apart Randy Brown at range, take him down, and then submit him. I don't know if he could do that. Randy Brown is pretty big at welterweight. He's 6'3" as well, but he is pretty dense. unlike Kevin Holland. And I feel like he can probably like outmuscle Kevin Holland in certain grappling positions and avoid it and then keep it on the feet and then just bully him on the feet with like the size difference. And Kevin Holland, I mean Randy Brown hits pretty hard. Probably better than Daniel Rodriguez. Even though he's coming off a KO loss by Gamrot Fame, I feel like he could probably win this fight against Kevin Holland, like this version of Kevin Holland. So I'm going with Randy Brown winning by decision. Listen, Kevin Holland should win this fight for sure. It's just, I don't see it. I'm going with Randy Brown. And I don't trust Kevin Holland. It's kind of hard to trust someone that who doesn't really pull through with some of their fights. But yeah, I'm going with Randy Brown decision. Next up, we got Matheus Gamrot versus Esteban Ribovics. Esteban Ribovics, this dude, someone to look out for. He's really entertaining, really good striker. His combinations are really, really, really good. His overall boxing, I would say, doesn't really come close to Ilya or like Peter Yan, but his combinations are still pretty good, really clean. He's not facing out with Matheus Gamrot. Matheus Gamrot is a pretty good grappler. Not even just pretty good, a really, really, really good grappler. Gave a really close fight against Arman. But obviously, he doesn't have like the threat of a KO or submission. His striking is a little bit underrated. Gamrot has pretty good striking. He was out striking Charles Oliveira, maybe because he wasn't scared of the takedowns. He was just going all in the striking. But his striking is still pretty decent, even though he's a bit of a pillow puncher. It's just the thing is in this fight is Esteban Ribovics in his fights. When he gets taken down, it feels like he's not even trying to defend the takedowns. It's like he has no urgency to defend them. He allows his opponents to take him down, and then Esteban Ribovics is like gonna be like, okay, eventually I'm just gonna get back up. Let me just wait this out, and he does get back up. He waits it out. He's able to find the openings. It's just the people he's been fighting is not Gamrot. Gamrot is levels above in terms of the grappling over some of these guys he's been facing. I don't see him. Listen, if he's not defending the takedowns to certain these guys, like he easily gets taken down. Gamrot's gonna easily take him down and then put him in positions where Ribovics is not gonna be able to get back up at all anymore. So for like the whole round, and now Gamrot's gonna be able to do that for 3 rounds straight. He's not gonna gas out. He has 5-round cardio. Gamrot. I don't see Ribovics gonna be able to eventually start defending the takedowns when Gamrot starts gassing out. I don't see it. I'm going with Gamrot winning by decision. Sucks. Esteban Ribovics is pretty entertaining, but I do think Matheus Gamrot is probably going to win this fight by just out-grappling Ribovics to a decision. So, yeah. Next up, at featherweight bout, we got Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico. This one makes no sense at all. Both of these fighters are like Bellator fighters, and now they're facing off with each other. Both have like 3 fights together. They're like 1-2 combined record in the UFC. Makes no sense why they're facing off with each other, but here we have it. But anyways, we got Pitbull, Pico. Pitbull obviously is 1-1. He lost to Yair, makes sense, and then lost to Dan Ige. Won Dan Ige. That win makes no sense. Dan Ige before that, almost finished Laurel Murphy, and then before that, on short notice, gave a really tough fight towards Diego Lopez. I don't know what performance that was against Pitbull, because Dan Ige should have finished Pitbull the way he was looking in those last 2 fights. Makes no sense. Obviously, he just got chinned by head kick by Milky, but Milky's pretty good. So it was Pitbull. He's decent. He was a Bellator champ. Aaron Pico wasn't a Bellator champ. Maybe Pico could have been a champ if he stayed longer in Bellator, or PFL, however that works anymore. But anyways, Pitbull. He's good. He has a pretty good wins in the in Bellator. He's just not that good. And now he's like 35, 36. Pico, I would say he's the better wrestler. If not, can be kind of competitive, but I would say he's the better wrestler, the better striker, and he has power. Yeah, he hits pretty hard. He did lose his last fight against Laurel Murphy, but he was doing pretty good up until the spinning back elbow. He was controlling Murphy on the cage, taking him down, and then I don't know what Pico was doing. He was like switch stance, like crab walking towards Murphy, and that was like a perfect opportunity for Murphy to land the spinning back elbow. I don't know what Pico was doing in that moment, but he was like crab walking in there. But and Aaron Pico, I don't see Pitbull doing that. Maybe I don't see him doing that. Pico, Loki should do whatever he wants against Pitbull. Or to be honest, Pico's still pretty good. It's just his biggest issue was when he was in Bellator was like he didn't really mix in the martial arts. He would wrestle when it was time to wrestle, and he would strike when it was time to strike, but didn't really mix it in. But it seems like right now he does a really good job mixing in the striking into the grappling and grappling into the striking. And this is a pretty winnable fight for Aaron Pico. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna lean towards him winning this fight against Pitbull. Pitbull is good. It's just Pico has answers, and he's still pretty good. I feel like he really wants to get a win back, especially he's in his prime. So I'm gonna go with Pico by KO. Maybe. I feel like he can probably chin Pitbull, but I'm gonna go with Pico winning either way. Now for the first fight on the main event, we got at featherweight bout, we got Coach Swanson versus Nate Landwehr. Interesting matchup. Both of you guys are up there in age. Both of the guys should low-key be looking to retire soon. But I'm gonna lean towards Coach Swanson winning this fight. Coach Swanson, better striker. Nate Landwehr could be tricky with his grappling. It's just like at a certain like time in the UFC, I feel like your Coach Swanson definitely has developed some pretty good wrestling defense, wrestling in general. But in the striking, I feel like Coach Swanson could for sure I'll strike Landwehr. Landwehr, I mean, he likes to strike as well, so it's not gonna be like just like shooting takedowns left and right. So, but Coach Swanson, I feel like he's been able to stay more healthier as well in the last couple of fights. Yeah, he's been KO'd here and there, but it's because of by leg kick, it was by body kick, it wasn't by actually getting chin. Nate Landwehr has been getting chin out cold, slumped, activated ragdoll physics in his fights. This guy, he's been taking a lot of damage. I don't know if that's gonna like cross over to this fight, but maybe it probably will. But I feel like Coach Swanson for sure could chin Nate Landwehr. Probably I could see the first fight being kind of close, and then second round comes, Coach Swanson dominates, and then third round comes and he just finishes Nate Landwehr by KO. Maybe up against the cage, boom, 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 and with elbows or something, and then Coach Swanson retires most likely. I don't know, but I'm gonna go with Coach Swanson winning this fight. He's up there. He's more older. He's like 42, and Nate Landwehr's like 38 around there. But I feel like Coach Swanson can for sure win this fight. He's been staying more healthier. Hasn't been taking as much damage. He hasn't fought in over a year, I think, but I'm gonna go Coach Swanson winning this fight. Next up, we got light heavyweight bout. We got Azemat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa, another fighter on the card and moving up. We got Paulo Costa at light heavyweight bout. On paper, Paulo Costa should win this for the most part. He's bigger. He's 6'1". Azemat's 5'10". He comes from middleweight. He's gonna be having a lighter man skill. He's gonna be more faster, more quicker, better reaction time, better footwork, better striking, better grappling. He should win against Azemat, and I do think he's gonna win the first 2 rounds for sure. Maybe. It's just I feel like this fight is kind of gonna be like a one fighter dominating the other, and then the other fighter just finds an opening and gets the win. And I feel like that's exactly what's gonna happen in this fight. I cannot see Paulo Costa not being out cold in this fight after like being 3 rounds with it as a mat. Maybe. I mean, Paulo Costa could probably be better than Justin Jacoby. Justin Jacoby did go to the decision, still lost that fight, but for sure, Paulo Costa, if he goes to the decision with Azemat, he can for sure win the decision for sure. I said for sure like 3 times, but anyways, Azemat Murzakanov. Paulo Costa is a bit small. He's a bit small for light heavyweight bout, and that's a perfect opportunity for Azemat to find the KO. Listen, Paulo Costa as vice versa as well. Paulo Costa could find the head kick KO, find the head kick. Azemat has like perfect height to get head kicked for by Paulo Costa. But even if he does, I don't know if he could chin Azemat. Azemat, he does do it has like a dome head. You can see the light glistening on that. Like you can tell like he has like that Derek Lewis head head shape where I feel like he can probably tank pretty well. But Azemat, Paulo Costa, he's smart. Go to the decision with Azemat, pick him apart at range, calf kicks, body kicks. Just keep him away with a jab. Stay away from it. Stay away from Azemat striking, and don't try to go for grappling. And just keep it at a kickboxing range. Just keep it apart. Use your speed to your advantage and win a decision. It's just Paulo. I don't know if Paulo Costa is gonna be able to do that. I feel like at a certain point he's gonna be able to want to look for it as a mat, hunt him down, get the KO, and then he leaves himself wide open to get countered. And I think that's exactly what's gonna happen. I feel like maybe Azemat is gonna be cutting off the cage against Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa is gonna be like moving around, circling, and then right while Paulo Costa's gonna lunge in front of Azemat. Azemat's gonna find a hook or something or uppercut, and then chin Costa, and there's the fight. It's gonna be like that. I feel like a lot of people are gonna be frustrated at Paulo Costa being like, why did you try to go hunt down Azemat? All you had to do was just keep the fight at range. You would have won, but yeah, I'm going with Azemat Murzakanov winning by KO, 3rd round KO. after getting beat up by 2 rounds straight, and then churned him. But anyways, next up we got light heavyweight. We got Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker. I'm gonna be a little bit biased for this one. I'm gonna go with Dominic Reyes for sure because I like him. But anyways, Dominic Reyes. Before the Ulberg fight, he was a bit of a winning streak. He was beating a couple good guys. Anthony Smith, who was it? Nikita Krylov, right? And Dustin Jacoby. The Dustin Jacoby win is aging like wine, especially because he chinned Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby in the UFC has only lost like 4 times, and he got robbed against Roundtree. He got robbed against Minifield, and then the Azamat fight was a legit loss, but he went to the decision with Azamat. Like I said, that's aging like wine. Going to decision with Azamat, where Azamat has like 100 KOs, and he only has 1 decision, which is against Justin Jacoby, of course. And doesn't Dominic Reyes chin Justin Jacoby? That's aging like wine for Dominic Reyes to chin Justin Jacoby on that win. Obviously, I got chinned by Ulberg, but Reyes was so out of position in that fight. He was extremely out of position. He I don't know what was going on with Dominic Reyes. Like, he didn't register. He was in range to get dropped by Ulberg in that fight. I don't know what was happening. I was so pissed off, but in that fight, I'll be genuinely honest, especially because that fight was happening on my birthday, and I was like thinking like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm being extremely biased now, but Dominic Reyes, he was a pretty good winning streak up until then. This fight is kind of even, and we're gonna be honest, Johnny Walker, he's coming off a win against Zhang Mingyang. That fight was a bit of a weird one. Zhang Mingyang went out by leg kicks, calf kicks. Johnny Walker started off the fight as like Hamza, just going out there wrestling. Zhang Mingyang was winning. He didn't really struggle. He wasn't really faced with Johnny Walker's grappling. He was winning on the striking. Second round comes, and I don't know what happened. He just got dropped by leg kicks, calf kicks. I don't know. There must have been some gambling situation happening in China. But anyways, Johnny Walker won. But before that, he was getting chinned by Ankalaev, by Ozdemir, which is not a good visual. And so 50-50 matchup. I'm gonna lean towards Reyes. Both of these guys have like granola bar chins, but they both hit hard as well. They can both finish each other pretty easily. Glass cannons basically a glass cannon matchup. I'm with Dominic Reyes. I feel he's gonna win. I think he's gonna chin Johnny Walker, give us another goofy moment, and get back on the winning column. Now for the co-main, we got heavyweight bout. We got Curtis Blaydes versus Josh Hokit. Huge step up for Josh Hokit. Interesting matchup for Josh Hokit because why is he even fighting? Why is he fighting Curtis Blaydes? I'm stuttering so bad. But why is he on this card? It would have made more sense to save Josh Hokit for the White House card, because obviously he's doing the whole like America bit, but big step up for Josh Hokit to begin with against Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes, I mean, he has a glaring issue, which is KO artists, Sergey Pavlovich, Derek Lewis, Tom Aspinall, Ngannou twice. But aside from that, he's doing pretty good. He wins his fights pretty easy, like pretty dominantly. I feel like the only fight he struggled in where he won was the Almeida fight, and that was the only fight where he also only was getting out wrestled. I don't think he's been out wrestled in any other fight in his career. Maybe the Ngannou fight, but I don't know. It was more like Ngannou was, you know what I mean. But anyways, Curtis Blaydes, he has underrated striking as well. He finished Almeida even though he was getting ragdolled. Josh Hokit, for the most part, is not Almeida. Listen, he is undefeated. He has a 100% finish rate, but he's been doing that against like cans in the heavyweight. Cans of cans. Chris Blaydes has been winning at the highest level in the heavyweight. Josh Hokit, I don't think Josh Hokit has like wrestling as Almeida. He's not a power puncher. Actually, he's kind of opposite of a power puncher. Josh Hokit is kind of it's like the T-Rex syndrome. He doesn't have a long reach at all, but also his striking is not that good at all. He basically is just a wrestler for the most part. Takes you down, ground and pounds you, and then just breaks his opponents on the feet. But because they just don't want to fight anymore, they're like gassed or just thinking about the next McDonald's meals they're gonna get. I don't see him rag down Blaydes, and I don't see him out striking Blaydes on the feet at all. I don't see him dominating any category on against Blaydes. Blaydes, he's doing pretty good. He also got a really close win against Kuniev. Kuniev is a monster. Kuniev is the real deal, and Blaydes almost won a split decision win. He did win the first round, and he borderline almost won the third round. And so it wasn't a 10-8 in the second round as well. So it was like a 10-9, I think. Maybe it was a 10-8, but whatever. Anyways, Blaydes for sure. I mean, that was a big test for Blaydes, for both fighters, for Kuniev and Blaydes, because Kuniev is legit. Hokit, I feel like the only reason he's even in this position is because he's undefeated, but most likely because of hype. I don't think he's that good. I don't know. I don't think he's gonna be able to ragdoll Blaydes, get past the reach of Blaydes. If not, get outstruck by Blaydes. I see. If not, Blaydes is gonna outstrike Hokit, and then Hokit is gonna go for a takedown. I feel like Blaydes is gonna shook him off and then go for ground and pound on Hokit and finish him by ground and pound, probably in the second round. So I know with Blaydes winning by second round KO ground and pound. My prediction. My bad. Also for the co-main, just to the old co-main, I was gonna go with Joshua Van to be Taira Taira, just to let you guys know, because I've been seeing a lot of people say like, oh, Taira Taira, he's more experienced. Are people stupid? Joshua Van and Taira Taira have like almost the same amount of fights. In general, they're like, I think Van has like 18 fights and Taira Taira has like 19 fights, and then Van has like 10 UFC fights, while Taira Taira has 9 UFC fights. I mean, you can not kind of count Van with the Pantoja fight, so I guess you can say 9 and 9 fights in the UFC. But still, are people that stupid? They literally, I've been seeing people say Taira Taira has more experience than Van. No, he doesn't. They have like the exact same amount. Maybe Van has, obviously has been more active, but Taira Taira has been like fighting more longer, but no, I don't think so. And Van has better defense than Royval and better striking than Royval, and we saw what happened against Royval versus Taira Taira. Moreno has been dog shit recently. Lost to a guy who made a short notice, who was pretty inexperienced. Lost to a guy in the striking, which is dumb. So I was gonna go with Joshua Van. Joshua Van, he could probably defend the takedowns. If not, defend it for 5 rounds straight. Defend the takedowns and win like pretty big rounds and win the decision. That's what I was gonna be my prediction for, just on the record, but for Van winning. But anyways, light heavyweight bout, we got the main event. We got Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg for the vacant light heavyweight bout. Since Alex Pereira moved up, we got Jiri, the killed or be killed samurai, versus Carlos Ulberg, the 35-year-old young up and comer prospect. He's older than Jiri, but anyways, Carlos Ulberg still pretty good. You can say he's still young in terms of hasn't been taking that much damage, and health wise he's younger than Jiri. You can say, Jiri's been chinned pretty badly a couple times, not just in the UFC but in general in the regional scene as well. But we got now they're facing off with each other. Jiri, I mean, let's just start off with like the most obvious, his style. He's very awkward. How can Carlos Ulberg deal with that? Carlos Ulberg legit is kind of like a Walmart Alex Pereira in a sense. Not really. He is, obviously a CKB kickboxer, so kind of more like Izzy. But he does some things that Alex Pereira does that helped him win the second fight against Jiri. He has like the step back left hook, and Jiri got caught pretty badly in that second round with that left hook in the first round. And Alex Pereira, Carlos Ulberg has some nice timing with that left hook. And the thing is, Jiri Prochazka, he does leave himself quite open, even though he has some head movement. Not really, he hasn't really changed that much since before the Hell fight. He's still kind of similar fighter. He leaves himself quite open. You can just not just like style wise, but he does it on purpose as well. The Ozdemir fight, he was literally headbutting punches. Obviously, he's not gonna be doing that against Ulberg. I feel like, obviously, but I'm just saying, Prochazka does some things that don't make sense and leaves himself quite open. And Carlos Ulberg hits hard. He definitely could wobble Prochazka and finish him. Not the same way where Jiri got wobbled by Radtke, by Reyes. He was getting, he could definitely get wobbled and then finished by Ulberg the same way he got finished by Alex Pereira. Now, if you go look back at the Alex Pereira fight for the Jiri versus Alex in that first fight, Jiri was winning that fight. He was winning that fight up until he got dropped and then, hammer fist. But the thing is, that was a bit of an early stoppage. You can kind of, we've seen Jiri get back up from like almost getting finished. that wasn't even a horrible position Yuri was at. He was a bit of an early stoppage, and you can kind of say Alex Pereira got kind of lucky in that fight, because obviously the second fight comes. That fucking stutter. But anyways, the second fight comes, and Alex Pereira did make the adjustments and adjusted pretty well into that fight, and obviously actually finished him. And so this is not Carlos Ulberg's second fight against Jiri. This is his first fight against Jiri. So it's gonna be really interesting to see if he can be adjusted against Jiri in that first fight, in this fight, seeing his style, how well he matches up with it. Jiri will look pretty weird in the round 3 fight. It's pretty speculated he got injured in that fight. Obviously, Jiri being like the having the samurai code, he's not gonna admit it or anything like that. The same way he didn't admit that he got finished in the Alex Pereira fight. I think he did actually say he wasn't finished after. Like, I think he took it back, but Jiri. What was I talking about? I don't know. That literally took me off tracks, but. Anyways, Jiri could definitely get dropped by Carlos Ulberg and then finish pretty badly in this fight. That's a reality that that for sure could happen. But the thing is, Carlos Ulberg, like I said, he is a bit of a Walmart Alex Pereira. It's just he doesn't have the full work of Alex Pereira. He doesn't have the timing, the speed, the experience. Jiri, he is tricky, and he has better footwork, and he can definitely get into range against Carlos Ulberg and not get hit by Ulberg with that left hook. Because like I said, Jiri, he's really open to that left hook. He's really open to it. He can definitely get dropped by it, but I don't know. I feel like Jiri can for sure outspeed Carlos Ulberg. Carlos Ulberg legit he's a little bit flat-footed. His footwork is pretty cheeks. And, he's not the quickest fighter. Jiri has fought quicker fighters like Roundtree, Pereira. Rakic is a pretty quick kickboxer. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be an interesting matchup for sure. Jiri could for sure enter range, pick apart Ulberg, but Ulberg can for sure turn the fight around. But the thing is, even though let's say Ulberg, he does pose a big problem for Jiri. Jiri's mentality, I feel like that's gonna be a big factor in this fight. I feel like for sure, even though he's gonna not, I don't think he's gonna dominate Ulberg. He's gonna probably break Ulberg into the third, fourth, fifth round. I feel like Jiri is gonna dominate in those rounds against Ulberg. First round comes, it's a bit of a back and forth. Jiri goes for a takedown. Ulberg does, shucks him off, doesn't really do much. Second round comes. Jiri lands one big one. Ulberg lands one big one. They're both wobbled, but they're both how should I put it? They're both staying composure. And then third round comes, Jiri lands another big one, and that's where Carlos Ulberg starts breaking, slowing down, and then probably finishes him. Jiri. That's what I'm gonna go with. I'm going with Jiri getting a third round KO. It's like I said, Ulberg can win this fight for sure. It's not like a 100% win for other fighter. But Jiri, I feel like, I don't know, it's such a hard one to predict how Jiri's gonna look in his fights to begin with. But if Jiri is the Jiri he fought in and against Hill, and against Hill, because in every single other fight he's been not doing that great up until he gets a finish or gets finished. If he looks like that against Hill or the first against the first Alex Pereira fight, he dominates Ulberg. But the thing is, he can't get caught like the same way he got caught against Pereira or Reyes or Rakic, because Ulberg, like I said, will put Jiri down for sure. I'm gonna wait Jiri Prochazka. He's gonna win. I trust in him. The samurai spirit. Oh, I'm coming. I'm with Jiri winning by a third round KO. Like I said earlier, I'm just hesitating. I'm just really hesitating going with Jiri. But I'm going with Jiri third round KO. Those are my predictions. And that is all. Those are all my predictions. Thank you guys for watching. If you came this far, like and subscribe. If you have any other opinions, if you have differing opinions, let me know. If you think of one fight is going to go differently than what I said, I'd like to read your comments. And thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. And goodbye.